Hello and welcome back to Coding with T. In today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to design the categories user interface. Okay, first of all, let's quickly have a look what we are going to create, and we are inside our e-commerce admin panel that we have already learned how to create. We have already done login sign up of our admin, and once you are logged in, you can see this dashboard. We have already created this dashboard, and also recently we completed our media section, and in this media section we have covered all these galleries, how to upload multiple images by dragging and dropping all the images over here. But in today's tutorial we are going to start creating the UI of our categories, and as you can see, we can see all the categories over here and all the parent categories. These categories are featured, some are not featured. We will see the date over here, the date in which we are going to create the categories. Then we have the edit and delete option. We have the pagination. Currently you can see we have 25 records in the categories. You can view them all. We can click on any of the categories to select and unselect. When I'm going to click on create new category, you can see this new design. We can create the category. We can select name of the category from all the subcategories or the main categories. We can choose the image from the media. We can make it featured or not featured and click on create to create that category. And also when I'm going to click on this edit button, you can see this option. We can edit this category, name of the category, then select some parent if any. We can select the image, make it featured, or still we can update it, and once updated you will see that update will reflect right over here. We can also search any of the categories. Let's say we are going to search the same category created by someone, and also we have the new create new category button over here. And also to check its responsiveness, let's try to reduce its size. Currently we are in the desktop mode. Now when we are going to turn it to the tablet mode, let's keep scrolling, and you can see now it is the tablet mode. Still we can see the categories in a perfect shape. We can read all the content, we can search, we can create new category. Once clicked, you can see in the tablet mode we have the same design. And also when we are going to click on edit, we can still edit these things. Now let's scroll it again, and you can see now the category name shrinked to the next line. Now we have two lines for the category name, and let's keep scrolling a bit more. Now you can see the table stop going backward. So this means that now we have this scroll effect, and when we're going to reach it towards the phone mode, you can see we have the search over here. We can create new category. We have all the buttons, and we can also search. Click on create new category, and you can see now the form is in the center. Still we have all the features. We can choose any of the option from here. So same way we can edit all these categories. We have all the data. So this is what we are going to create in today's tutorial. We are creating Flutter eCommerce admin panel, and we have completed our 7 sections. As you can see, one by one on from the left side, we have from setting of the project and until we cover responsiveness, sections, media, we learn how to handle the navigation, handle the responsiveness, and bunch of other features as listed. So you can watch the previous videos or get the playlist link from the description. You can also download the complete code, link is in the description. So for today's tutorial, we're going to start the section 8, and only we have one main section left, which is the 9th section, which we are going to do the backend, and after that we are simply going to deploy our project. So let's get started. We are inside our e-commerce admin panel, and here in the features, first of all we have to go to the shop, and in here in the screens you can see I have created a category model. But before directly jump towards coding, first of all, in order to create a new link, we have to go to the routes, and in the routes.dart we have to create these 3 screens. The first name is categories. After categories we have create category and edit category. We want to display the URLs like this. You can modify them. You can write it like this, category and then create category or edit category. If you want to pass the IDs over here as well, we will talk about them in the upcoming videos. But for today we are going to focus on the design. So for now let's keep them simple, and also add the categories inside the sidebar menu so that we can display the categories as well. Then go to the app routes, and I have created 3 get pages. The first one is categories, then create category and edit category. I have created these screens. I will show you in a minute. So first you need to create these screens, and after that you will have to add those screens over here, and then the middleware that we created just for the additional security. Okay, once this is done, let's go to common widgets and search for the layouts. Go to the sidebar, open the sidebar.dart, and in here we have to create the category. like this, and its route will be simply categories. Icon is category 2 and item name is categories. Okay, once it's done, let's close it and now head toward the category screens, and in the categories you can see I have created 3 further folders in the category, and this is the practice that we are going to use throughout in creating other designs. So first of all, in the screens we are going to create the main folder, which is the category folder for now. Then it will a brand folder. After that we will have products like this, and inside that folder we will keep all categories first, in which we are going to display the table, search bar and all the things. Then we have the create category and edit category. Now let's explore these one by one. If I'm going to open the all categories, and in that we are going to create the main file, which is the categories.dart, which is using T-site template, desktop, tablet and mobile, and we have to create these 3 classes now. And if you see the responsive screens folder over here, and in that I have created categories desktop, categories mobile and categories tablet. So these 3 screens are the same screens that we have declared over here inside the categories. So these 3 will display respectively in the desktop, in the tablet and in the mobile mode. And if you're new, you can again watch the previous videos to learn the responsiveness. And the table design will go inside the table, and all the widgets will go over here. In this case we only have the table header. So these are the simply classes, and if you open this again, the second one, which is the create category, you can see the main file create category, same like the previous one. We have the T-site template, desktop, tablet and mobile mode. And in the responsive screens, we have 3 responsive screens. And in the widgets, we have one widget, which is the form widget. But we do not have any table over here because table will only go inside the all categories. So same design is inside the edit category folder. We have the main edit category.dart, then widgets, then responsive screens. Now let's get started with the all categories. Open the categories.dart. We first have to declare the T-site template and declare all the categories. Once done, let's start coding in the categories desktop. Okay, here just to save the time, first of all you need to create a scaffold. Then we have a scroll bar, which is single child scroll view to scroll the content. Then we have a padding from all the sides, and the padding we are going to use is edgeinsets.all, and we're using the default space, which is 24.0 declared in the T sizes because it is static. So we can directly call T sizes dot default space. And then for the main content, we have a column. Cross axis is the start because you have to start everything from the left side. And then in the children, first and foremost, we have to create the breadcrumbs that we created in the previous tutorial. If you're new, you can watch the link in the description. This is the same widget that we created in the previous tutorial, which is TBreadcrumbs. In the heading, we created the categories, and as a breadcrumb items, we just have to pass the categories, then add some space or the height using size box, and space between sections means 32.0. Again, it is declared in the T sizes.dart. After that, we are going to create the table body. Currently, I have declared the OBX. We do not need it because the backend is not yet created. So let's remove that OBX from here for now. And in the T-rounded container, we have to create the column. And in the column, we have a widget of table header and table itself. So we have to create these 2 widgets. The one widget with the breadcrumbs is already created. If you want to see it, this is the T breadcrumbs widget. We have a column, we have a row with the dashboard link, then we have a for loop because we can pass the list of the breadcrumb items. We have to add the forward slash, then on click event and heading of the page. So this widget is already created. And if we talk about in the T-rounded container, we have a column which is category table header and category table. So these are the 2 widgets that we need to create. So category table header is already declared in the widgets in the table header.dart, which is an empty table header. We are going to use this table header throughout inside our all screens where we are going to display our table. So if we open the project, you can see in the categories, first of all, we have the breadcrumbs and a title. So we have the first section over here, and then we have, this is what I'm calling as a header, create new category, and we have a search bar. So this is what treated like a header. And on top of this, you can see we have a white T-rounded container with a white background and a small shadow. If you see this T-rounded container over here, and this is what we have created while creating our e-commerce app. So it has a gesture detector, container with a width, height, padding and margins. These are the default values that we are using, and some are optional. And in the decoration, we have a color, border radius, border and box shadow. If box shadow value is true, by default you can see it is true, then it's going to display this box shadow like this. And once in the rounded container created, we have a table header with a create new button and with a search. After that, we have to add some space and then we have the table. So this is the table that we have to create later on. So the first widget that we're going to create is the table header. Now inside the row, we have to create two things. The first thing is the button, and first create a children, and the first thing I'm going to create the elevated button. Remove this constant, and whenever this elevated button will be pressed, we will use the get.toNamed, and we have to import this troutes. Then we're going to call the create category. So this is the create category in the troutes that we have just created, and the text of the button will be create new category. After that, we are going to create the text form field, and in the text form field as a decoration, we are going to use the input decoration. Hint text is search categories, prefix icon is search normal. If I'm going to run this so that we can check it side by side. Also, we are inside our dashboard, and on the left side you can see we have a category, so let's select them. Okay, when we click on the category, you can see we have an error which is something not well, and the design is not working. So let's open the category table, and in here we are using the text form field, which is not taking the required space, but it is trying to take all the available space. So to fix that, inside the row we have to wrap this text form field with a widget called expanded, and also I'm going to wrap the widget elevated button with the same expanded widget. Now let's rerun it again. Okay, our application is running again, and let's click on categories, and you can see now we can see the design and it's not crashing. But you can see we have the create new category button is taking all the space. As much space is taken by this text form field. Now we have to change the flex property of this expanded widget. Let's create a flex, and I'm going to use tDeviceUtils dot is desktop screen, and if it is, let's say it is not a desktop screen but it is a tablet and mobile screen, then what we want to do, we only want to use the flex by default, which is 1. And if it is the tablet screen, then we want to use 3 as a flex so that we can take the more space in order to make the text form field smaller, because in desktop if we have the large space, then text form field remain small. And same for the second one. If it is a desktop screen, I'm going to give it the 2 flex, because over here we have a 3 flex, and in this case it will have a 2 flex, and otherwise it will only have the 1 flex for the tablet and for the mobile. So let's try to save it, and now you can see this button is taking more space, but this search categories is taking only double space, but this button is taking 3 times space as much as to this text form field, because you can see it is triggering this 3 as a flex, and means take 3 times space available, and this flex means take 2 times space available. Or to make it similar, we can use like this 3 and make it 1 over here. Now whenever it is a desktop screen, it is going to take 3 times space. Whenever it is a desktop screen, it is going to take 2 times space, but we also want to make this button look smaller. For that, I'm going to wrap this button with the sized box and give a width of 200. Let's save it again, and you can see still we have the button in large mode. We cannot change anything because of the expanded widget and the flex property. So what we have to do, we have to give some other widget to this expanded widget so that expanded should work on that widget and sized box should take only available space. So for that, I'm going to wrap this expanded widget in a row. Now this expanded widget is going to expand this row but not this size box, right? So by this way we are going to get exactly what we want. So now let's save it, and you can see we have the create new category button, but this is a complete row which is not visible, and we have the search categories button over here. And you can see as far as the desktop screen is concerned, we have the responsive search categories and create new category button. This way, this means that it is working on this. Now in order to handle this text form field, we need two more things. One is controller and one is onChange. We definitely do not have any controller, and onChange is going to give us the value. It is an empty function for now, but controller, we do not have any controller for now. What we want to do is, instead of reusing or recreating this widget again and again for each screen, why not we should create it as a reusable widget. So currently it is inside the widgets of the category. And what are the four or five things that we need to extract it from here? We just need to pass the route in which we want to head, means on press of this create new button. Text, because in this case it is create new category, in other case it is create new brands, create new product, and something like that. So we need a text of this button, on press of this button, and we need a controller of this text form field, on change of this text form field, and in the decoration we have this in text, which is search categories in this case, and later on it will be search brands, or let's say we can simply write search here. In this case we do not need to pass any text. We need controller, on changed, and in this case we need on pressed and also we need the text of the button. So let's create them over here. You just have to hover on this on press and you can see it is required void function. So you can simply copy this from the void till on press. So we have created a final function. Function is a type of null on press, and you just have to declare it over here because it is nullable, so it is not required in this case. So we can copy this on press and simply replace it over here, final string button text, and then we need to create this controller as well of the text form field. Again, I'm going to copy this controller as it is. Okay, I've created search on change as well, and we need to create a function which will receive a string and it is nullable. So let's change this over here. Also in the controller we have to pass the search controller, replace this text with the button text, remove this constant. Now we have already assigned these four things. This means that this widget is completed. Instead of creating that widget or declaring that widget inside the local widget of all categories, we have to extract this widget and go to common widgets in the data table. Let's paste it over here, name it table header as it is, and you can see now it is inside the data table. We do not have anything over here which is inside the widgets. And now open the desktop categories. Okay, here you can see we have created the table header with the category table header, and but this time we have a button text and on press. Currently we are not going to pass anything for the text form field, but we have two things, title and its on press. So this means that now we can change this name. Also you can see it is category table header, which is the name of the class. We have to modify this. Right click, go to refactor, rename, change this T to category to T table header so that we can make it a generic type. Okay, now whenever we're going to use the header, we just have to call the T table header. We can use whatever we want. And now let's head towards the category table. This is going to be unique for each case. Also, we have to add the same thing in the T table header for our mobile. So we have to add the same table header inside our categories mobile and inside our categories tablet. Okay, now if we talk about the category table, inside the table we have to add the data table and table source. If we talk about the data table, this is where we are going to handle its columns, its design and everything. And then in the table source, we are going to add the rows. So I have just replaced it with the TPaginatedDataTable. And then in the minimum width, we have to set 700 so that even if though it is going to reach in the mobile device, which is not the 700 width, but it is going to add a scroll effect, and then we can easily scroll the table. You can change this width. Then in the columns we have data table columns of data table column 2. Then inside over here we have the data column 2, which is the 5 columns, category, parent category if any, we have feature, date and actions. And now we have to add the same number of rows. And now you can see in the source we have the category rows, and in the category row we have to add the same number of columns for each row. So let's open this, which is basically a table source, and inside you can see we do not have any cells created yet. We have to create the 5 cells, which means the 5 columns. And also in order to create the category rows, if you are new, you can again watch the tables section in which we learn each and every concept of this data table and data table source. We have created the complete example. So for now we have to expand it with the data table source and create the class name with the category rows. Inside we have 4 override functions. The first one is going to override or return the row, and in the index we will be able to get the current value. And then we have is row count approximate, row count and selected row count. So currently these are the default values. I just make it false. You can pass it 0 because we do not have any rows. So inside the data row we have to create the 5 cells, and the first data cell is going to contain a row. In the row we have the first image and then we have a name inside the expanded because we have to make it flexible. If the table size is going to shrink smaller and smaller, then we have to keep this text as max lines to 2 so that it can go to the second line as well, and overflow is ellipses. In order to we have a large text that we cannot display inside that specific width, and we are even though using the max lines as 2, then we're going to use this overline as ellipses, and on the top of it we have expanded so that we our design should not be crashed. The text should be visible with the dotted lines. And in the image we have to change this category image because we would not receive any category image for now because it is a static design. Let's use the static image and change the image type to asset, add a constant. So this is the first data cell for the first column. Okay, for the next cells or the second column I have created a text which is saying parent, because in this we are going to display the parent category. Then for the third cell we have icon. Currently it is displaying the default primary icon, but once it is selected we will display this filled icon with the primary color, and if it is not selected, means if it is not favorite or featured, we are not going to display this as the filled icon. Then third we have the date of that specific row created, and then we have the action buttons. We are going to use the table action buttons, which is over here. And inside this, if you scroll a bit down, it is a simple row, and we have the three options. These three are the booleans. You can see we have three bools: view, edit, and delete. If you want to see the view button, just have to pass the view as true. We will have the icon button created. This is on press, icon will be this, then again an icon button, then third one is again an icon button. We have different on press that we have to use it wherever required. And by default you can see view is false because we're not going to create any views, but edit and delete is true. If you have created your view design as well, just have to pass the view as true, and then it will also display the view button. So let's close it, and by this way on delete is currently not going to do anything. On edit is going to call get.toName, and we're going to again use the troutes.edit category arguments. In the arguments we are going to pass the actual category that we learned in the routes video, that how we can pass the arguments and also how we can pass the parameters. So parameters will go inside the URL, but arguments is not going to go inside the URL. So these are the differences that we already learned. So for now this design is completed. Now let's save it. You can see we have the category, create new category. Over here we have the search, and then inside the table we have currently 5 items. These are the dummy items. We have a name, we have image that is not displaying, then we have a parent category, all the featured, the date.now, then we have 2 action buttons. So next we are going to create new category. So this is the design that we want to create now. So let's go to the create category, and inside we are going to create this create category desktop first. And in the breadcrumbs you can see we have to make this return to previous screen to true in order to view this back arrow. So whenever it is going to be pressed, we will be head toward the previous screen, which is the categories. Then heading is create category, and breadcrumbs is troutes.categories and create category. So what this troutes is going to do, inside you can see we'll make this categories as clickable. You can also click on this categories to go back to the previous screen, and inside this we just have to create a one form, which is create category form. Currently it is empty and it is inside this widgets. We have to create this form, and then we're going to use that form inside desktop, tablet, and mobile. Okay, now I've created the T-rounded container, which is going to display the white background, and the width of this container is 500. Then we have a padding from all the sides, which is default space, and then we have a form that we wanted to create. Then in the column we have the first thing is space to add some height from the top. Next, let's create a text, and in the text we have to remove the constant from the top. So in the text we have a create new category. This is the theme that we are going to use with the headline medium. Then again we have to add some space before adding a text field, and we're going to use the name text field. Text form field validator is tvalidator dot validate empty type or empty text. Is going to receive the field name and value. If value is null or empty, it is going to return the message as field name is required. So in this name, the name field is required, will be returned as error if it is empty. Then as a decoration we're going to use the input decoration. Label text is category name, prefix icon is the category. Here you can see you created the drop down button, drop down form field, and it is going to be a type of category model, but because we are not going to design with the category model, so let's keep it as a string. So in the decoration we have input decoration. This is a hint, this is a label text and prefix icon. Add a comma, control alt L. Next we have the on change. Currently it's not going to do anything. And then in the drop down menu item, let's pass an empty text, and also in the text let's keep it like this. Add a constant, control alt L to align. Okay, once it is created, next after this drop down button we are going to add some space first, and then after that we have to use this TImageUploader. Width and height is 80 cross 80. Image is by default image, image type is asset. On press is currently null. So what is TImageUploader? It's again a reusable widget. It has some default values, width and height. Required is this image type. Then we have the circular image is false. This is the icon, bottom and left is also assigned. So this is using stack property to create an image first, and on top of that image we have an icon which is going to be triggered as on pressed. So using T circular icon we have the on press event of this button, so we can display the image, and on top of that we have that specific icon using the stack property. So we are using this to design our T image uploader. After this again add some space, And then we're going to create this checkbox menu item. Value is true, on change is currently null, and child is text, which is featured. Whenever this is going to be triggered, we will treat it as the featured category or not featured category. And then we have to again add the space, and size box will contain the elevated button. On press is null and text is create. Whenever this button is going to be pressed, we are going to store this category or the selected data inside our database. So let's save it. Okay, so we are inside our categories, and let's click on create new category. And you can see we have, first of all, title of this T-rounded container, and then we have the text form field with the create category name. Then we have the category dropdown. Currently it only has one item. And then we have icon, and down below you can see the image. So whenever this will be pressed, we are going to fetch or upload one selected image over here. Then we have the checkbox over here, which is currently not toggling because it's not OBX. And then we have a button which is going to trigger the update state. Now we are going to use the same design for our tablet and mobile, and also we're going to use the same design for the edit categories. So you can see in the mobile we have the breadcrumbs, then we have a form. We are not going to change anything in the tablet. Same, we have the breadcrumbs first, then we have the form, and the form is created in the widgets. So this is very useful when we are going to create the reusable widgets. And as far as the design is concerned, we are going to use the same design for our edit screen. In the edit category, we are going to keep everything same. So let's first add the breadcrumbs. But the thing that is going to be changed is this category model. You can see it is required. Currently, it's not needed because it is a design. But later on, when we're going to see this edit category, we're going to get the current selected category like this, because we have to display the data inside that category. So we have to make sure that this category is selected. So if you are going to pass argument, then argument is going to receive like this, because we are only going to send the one single argument. But if we are going to pass parameter, then for the parameter we have to write something like this, parameters, and in the bracket we have to tell which parameter we want to get. Also, if we only have one parameter, we can get it like this. So once we have that category over here, we're going to pass the same category to all the screen types. And then over here, we're going to receive this category and we will use it inside our design. So inside the column, let's create children. And I just have pasted all the breadcrumbs and the edit category form. And we have to pass the same category to this edit category form over here. Remove that constant from the top. So we're going to use the same thing for our mobile and tablet. Okay, once this is done, we have to head towards the edit form category. And in here, we are going to use the same form, and I'm going to copy this complete form from here, paste it like this, and now let's save the code. We are in the categories, and when I'm going to select any of this option, we have an error because I think we are passing the category model, but we are receiving the string. So for now, let's not pass anything. We're not going to get anything from the arguments because we are passing the string, and over here we are receiving the category as the category model. So you're not going to pass anything but an empty category model, so that we cannot get any error. So let's save it. Now you can see we are inside the edit category, and we can see the update category section with the create new category text. This is what we have to change. We copy pasted the complete model, so we have to change this create new text, create new category to update category, and the rest of the things will remain same. You can see update text is now changed. So this is what we wanted to create in today's tutorial. The design is completed, but for the next section, we are going to add the backend over here. So make sure to watch that video as well, because the backend is going to be a bit tricky. We have to handle the states, so that whenever we are going to update the new things over here, or the pass new data over here, it should not display the previously selected data inside our variables. So in the upcoming videos, we are going to focus on creating all the designs of the products, orders, brands, users, everything. Once the design is completed of our admin panel, then we are going to simply add one by one the backend. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching. If you have any question, you can ask me down below in the comments. And once again, thank you for watching, and take care.